Good day, good people, and welcome to Whiskey and Smoke News Network, your weekly whiskey, cigar, pipe, and pipe tobacco program, where we cover the news, new releases, upcoming events, and we throw in an interview with someone in the industry or someone who is industry adjacent for good measure. We may sometimes get a bit cheeky. We may even, at times, get a bit scholarly, but providing you with some entertaining content for the next hour or so, possibly less for this episode, is our ultimate goal. With all of that being said, please remember that you must be the appropriate age in your home country to watch or listen to this program, which is usually 18 or 21. So if you're not of the appropriate age in your home country, please stop watching or listening to the program now. But please do come back to the program when you are of the appropriate age. This is episode 21 for May 17th, 2026. My name is Chris Kumnick, and I will be your host. Now, let's move on to our Pop the Cork in-depth interview of the week with Mr. Mitch Bichard, former Diageo brand ambassador, William Grant & Sons U.S. West Coast brand ambassador with Glenfiddich, author, podcaster, owner of Copper Cairn Adventures, and independent bottler with Turrismore Whiskey. We discover his career before whiskey, the books he's written, state of the whiskey industry, Copper Cairn Adventures, and the new whiskey release coming out soon. So please sit back, grab a dram, pour that glass, pick out a good stick and torch it up, grab your favorite pipe, pack the bowl with your favorite tobacco, and light away. Then listen to the interview. Please enjoy. Good day, good people. It's Chris Kumnick with the Whiskey and Smoke News Network, and I am here with Mitch Bichard of many things now. He has run the gamut of different things that he's done. Let's see, he's been, I'll call him one of the UK Diageo brand ambassadors way back in the day. He was the US West Coast Glenfiddich brand ambassador. He is the founder of Copper Cairn Whiskey Experiences. He is I guess the part of the duo of the Not Another Whiskey podcast. And he also has a new venture in Turrismore Whiskey. Is that an indie bottling, Mitch? And by the way, welcome, Mitch Bichard. Sorry.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me, man. Good to be here.
Absolutely, yes. So the Turrismore, real quick, is that would you call that an independent bottling?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so okay. It was always a kind of dream of mine, I suppose, to have my own whiskey. So we created that. That was about a year and a half in the making, and we launched it last May. Okay. So we've now got two different editions of Turrismore that has come out. So I did it with my good friend Craig Holmes, and the whole idea behind it was really to talk about adventure and connection within whiskey, which I'm sure we've all experienced and everyone listening has experienced before. And that's Turrismore relates to great journey. So excellent. Whenever you see anything on the label, our website, and we talk the talk as well. We bring people together. We often have adventures. We're doing one in Rassay in September. We did one in Speyside last year. So we bring people together to have these experiences within whiskey. So it's been a lot of fun. The first release was a Mortlach 12-year-old. The second release was a Bruichladdich 18 that we finished in rum casks for a year. And we're working on the third release as we speak right now. So that's kind of exciting.
There you go. Little maybe give us a hint later on. So the Bruichladdich, was that peated or non-peated? Because I know
it was unpeated.
Most peated is not, or most Bruichladdich is not. So is not peated, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, it was unpeated. And we got, we managed to get its final year in the rum cask, which gave it this nice kind of a molasses, burnt sugar, toffee note just right at the end, but you still get that maritime saltiness that you get with unpeated Bruichladdich. So yeah, it works really well. Salted caramel, I've found that's the best food pairing with it.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, the reason I wanted to have you on my podcast here was because your book, which I had a chance to read all the way through it. It's a nice. It took me a couple hours, but it was well worth it because Your stories are amazing. And the book's name is Not Another Effing Whiskey Book. Is that correct? Yes, I think that's right. Yes.
Yeah, it is. And
Yes.
It's funny, Chris, because that title was like a working title for so long.
Yeah.
And the more I showed it to people, they were like, actually, that's a really cool title. And then I came up with the idea, the concept of the U in the swear word being a Glencairn glass. And I actually had to send it off to the Glencairn guys. And I was like, hey, if I do this, are you going to be okay with it? Will you sue me? And they're like, nah, we love it. Just keep going with it. So
exactly.
That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that is an iconic shape. There's no doubt about that. So yes, I can understand they might have problems with it, but that's great that they did. So yeah, go ahead, continue. Sorry.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was going to say, the book was. If someone had told me I'd be sitting here this time next year, a year ago, saying that I'd be talking about a book and a whiskey that I'd launched, I would have been like, really? So last year was a big year, doing Tourist More, doing the book as well, doing those two things. That was my two big goals for 2025, and managed to do it. But the book came around because I was taking people out. I'd be doing tastings, I'd be putting them in the van with Copper Cairn, which is what I do up in Speyside and around Scotland. And people would just go to me like, oh, you should write a book. And I was like, whatever. And I think it was Christmas 2023 when I actually sat down and wrote the first chapter.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever written a book, Chris, or
no. Yeah, I am a writer. I am not. I would have to rely on my wife to help me with that. So yes, go ahead though.
It's an interesting thing to do because I wrote the first chapter and I was like, actually, that was really good fun. I enjoyed doing it, and then I basically planned out the entire book. I didn't call them chapters; I called them batches.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So the whole concept was kind of sketched out very early, and that kind of changed as well. I'd say my inspiration for this was Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain.
Okay.
Which I read that way back in my hospitality days, and that was an insight into how chefs work in the kitchen. So it was a kind of pull back the curtain on the kitchen, see the inside story, and Anthony Bourdain talked about crazy things that went on there. So I wanted to do that. As an ambassador, I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about what it is to be a whiskey ambassador. Sure. And for me, it was like, can I pull back the curtain on what we actually do as whiskey ambassadors and what that entails? And it's kind of like the good, the bad, and the ugly that I've put in there, I like to think. But then as
mostly
progress,
the good though. Mostly the good.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of fun stories, and that's why I wanted it, and sure. I'm so pleased that you read it over a couple of hours, because so many people say that. They're like, it's a really easy read, it's super light. I laughed along the way, and that's what I wanted to do with this. This isn't a book, and I say this right at the start. This is not a book about tasting notes. It's not going into the distilleries, the kind of history of whiskey. I do touch on that a little bit, but that's not what I wanted to do here. It was more just fun stories about the whiskey industry.
Yeah, and well, you accomplished your goal, I will have to say. I mean, it was from the very beginning, from your first experience with whiskey, just truly, I don't want to make this about me, but I had a similar experience. Again, the group of friends got together, but mine was with Jim Beam, not with Scotch, and mine involved also. Well, I don't think you ended up driving the porcelain bus, but I did, and it cured me of whiskey for quite a while. But I made my way back, kind of just like you did. But if you don't mind talking about your little bit about your first experience with whiskey, it's because it's a good story.
Yeah, I mean, mine was, it was I lived, at the time I was living with my gran in a little town called Callander, which is up in the Highlands of Scotland, and we managed to illegally get a quarter bottle of whiskey. It was like supermarket owned. I think at the time it was like Co-op or something like that that we got, And I remember sitting on this park bench, and my mate Doogie, he downed his in a oneer, and I didn't manage to do that, but I did it in two massive gulps, and and it was just a case of like, that tasted absolutely disgusting. What is the point of this? And then it hit me, and I was just, as you do when not that we down a quarter bottle of whiskey anymore, but I'm sure if we did it hit you like a freight train afterwards, which at 16 it did for me, and that was it. And it was a pretty horrific experience. And one of the things I tend to do now, and I talk about this in the book, is whenever I speak to people and I ask them about their first experience of whiskey, it tends not to be when was the first time you enjoyed it, but more when was the first time you realized you enjoyed it, and where was that moment, and what were you doing at the time?
Exactly.
Because that tends to get a better answer, or else it tends to be answers like we have,
Yes. No, and that was another thing I was going to bring up, is I love that. That is a great question to ask, especially more so than what was your first experience. I mean, we all probably would have as you say, that same kind of experience maybe, but when you first enjoyed it is probably a more apropos kind of a question to ask in the settings that you were in, for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You had written this also. This is a quote. It says, "Whiskey's story, like life itself, has its highs and lows, but reinvention is always possible." And you had put in a book that you thought this right before you were on your way to Southern California for Glenfiddich. And I think that's profound.
I have my moments, Chris, now and again. But I think the fun thing about doing this book was I never forced myself into doing it. I'm lucky enough that I stay up in Speyside. I've got this beautiful whiskey snug that we did up when we bought the house. And I'm just surrounded by whiskey, and I've got this nice fire going. So a lot of the time I would just say, right, okay, I'm in the mood to write a chapter, or I'm in the mood to just go over the last chapter, read it over again and see if it made sense for me. So 99% of the writing was done in that whiskey snug up in Speyside with dram in hand. So that's why if it gets a bit profound, maybe I had maybe a half a bottle when I wrote that, but yeah.
But it's true. I mean, it's there's a lot of things that you could equate to life in general and how whiskey can intertwine with it. It's a very social liquid. There's no doubt about that, and can make you make a lot of things pleasant and nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've made some of my best friendships through whiskey, and I love the whiskey industry as well. And the other thing about this book is it was definitely like a tip my hat to the whiskey industry, because as you know yourself, Chris, the people within this industry are so friendly, so welcoming.
Yes.
Anyone who's into whiskey wants someone else to get into whiskey. And the passion that everyone has within this is one of the things that keeps me in the industry and has kept me in the industry for over 20 years. It's interesting times right now. It's kind of tough times. One of the things I write about is the highs and lows within whiskey. I wouldn't say we're in a low right now, but we've come to a point where it's not all roses that we've had for the last 20 or so years with whiskey, and there are belts being tightened right now.
Oh, yes.
But still, the whiskey industry is coming together, and there's still great innovation going on out there. There's still great whiskey events that you can attend, and still great people within it.
Yeah, I think that the industry itself is, like you said, having to tighten its belts. But I think for the consumer, for us that are enjoying this wonderful liquid, that we're going to see some amazing things, because they're going to have to. They need the revenue. I think we're going to see some real amazing things come out of from both America and Scotland. Well, everywhere, as you talk about, it's now a world whiskey. Honestly, it's always grounded in, I agree, in Scotland, but just truly some amazing things going to come out, and which benefits us.
Yeah, and we're starting to see this already in the UK. Prices are starting to drop. I don't know if that's going to hit as much in the US with the current tariff system that's going on over there.
Yes,
but definitely in the US.
Sorry about that, by the way.
We're starting to see prices drop here for sure. So it's going to be, I think we're coming into, it's going to be a buyer's market for whiskey, which is going to be good in that regard. You can already see it in the secondary market. If you go onto the auction sites right now, you can get absolute bargains. I love going on those sites right now because I'm always picking up these old bottles that I can use for tastings and share with people when I'm out and about up here. And it's great for that.
Definitely. All right. Well, so I want to go over a few of the things in the book, if you don't mind. I mean, I don't want to give the whole book away to people because I want them to go buy it because it is a good book. But one of the things I saw that I found was your whiskey week that you had. Your like amazing whiskey week where it started, if I remember correctly, reading it started in Aspen. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, so this is the part where I moved to the US. I became the Glenfiddich ambassador, which was just an unbelievable time for Glenfiddich because one of the things that I got told when I arrived in the head office in New York was, Mitch, we don't want you wearing any kilts. We don't want to see any bagpipes anywhere. We don't want you in any golf courses. So it was all about changing the kind of the narrative on Glenfiddich and taking it away from being this dusty green bottle that everyone associated with,
Yep.
So that was fun because, I just went absolutely bonkers with whatever I kind of wanted to do, well, to a point almost. But I did some incredible things. I visited 42 states in the US over the 8 years that I was there. And the week that you're referring to is, I started off racing a NASCAR. I then went on to Aspen. We did a tasting up the mountain, drove a Bentley around an ice track, and then went to the Liberty Island. We did an auction under the Statue of Liberty. So it was one of those things where I eventually got back to my house and I was like, wait a minute, I just need to sit here and take stock on what I've just done, it was quite a bizarre one, that's for sure. But I think that's the amazing thing about whiskey. It can take you to incredible places that I would never have experienced half of what I experienced if it wasn't for whiskey, that's for sure.
Well, you definitely had a knack for landing in the right place at the right time, it seems. Not that you're not, I'm not saying that you're not talented, but luck has a lot to do with everything, I think, and it's, you seem to have been very blessed. I'll just put it that way with where, what you've been able to do. It truly is. It's great.
Chris, the secret is just always say yes to everything. Sometimes it may not work out for you, but most of the time it will. So
true.
That's my one of my things in life, I suppose, is just go for it. And it was interesting as well with that job. I'm a big believer in things happen for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. And I remember coming off my final interview for Glenfiddich, and it was over Zoom, over in the US. And I wasn't being big-headed, but I thought, like, there's a good chance I'm going to get this job. And I was still with Diageo at the time, very settled job. I'd been there for 5 years, and I was like, oh, do I want to make this move from Scotland all the way to California? If I do, then I need a sign. I'm a big believer in signs. I don't know if you believe this, Chris, but sometimes I ask the universe.
Yes.
You ask the universe for a sign, right? Whether you need to do something. So my wife goes out and she ends up coming back, and she's been hanging out with the Balvenie ambassador all night, who was stuck in Scotland because of that Icelandic volcano that we had back in. Remember that? And I think it must have been like 2009, right?
Yeah, right. Yes.
But randomly just met a whole group from William Grant and Sons. So she came back and told me that. I'm like, oh, that's the sign then. I know if I get offered the job now, then I have to take it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, well, that makes sense. It again, if you ask the universe, it usually provides. So
absolutely,
no doubt about it. You've been brand ambassador for Diageo, and that was mostly in the UK. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you give us a little rundown? What, in your own words, what is a brand ambassador? What do they do?
Face of the brand. Essentially, when you have a brand, you want to bring that brand to life. And I think as a brand ambassador, when you're doing a tasting, when you're meeting people, they're not necessarily going to remember the fermentation times, the maturation, the different types of casks that are used, right? But they will remember that personality that introduced them to that brand.
Right.
So it's a massive part of whiskey. I think it's just a massive part of branding, whether you're a vodka, you're a gin, you're a whiskey, whatever it is. Brand ambassadorship is huge. And thankfully, that will not be something that will be taken away by AI.
Yeah, true.
Definitely, you can't replace these personalities that are out there talking about whiskey right now. So yeah, I always say as a general rule, whiskey brand ambassador, you're talking to customers when you're doing tastings, you're talking to TV, radio, you're doing PR interviews. You're also educating staff within the high-end bars, restaurants, hotels, wherever you are. So brand education is huge within bartenders and that kind of bar community also, So I'd say that's it in a nutshell. But the bottom line is brand ambassador gets a credit card with the brand on it. They go into a bar and buy everyone a dram, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's so fun.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
go ahead. Nope.
No, I was going to say, I used to love that, and one of the stories I mentioned in the book is when I go to Alaska and I try and buy a gentleman a dram, and he was a big Macallan guy and just didn't get it at all, And so many times it was like that's what I loved about the US though. Talking about Glenfiddich, having a Scottish accent was brilliant, and then you had the credit card just to back it up. It would be like, yeah, come on everyone, Glenfiddich's on me, And
exactly.
The bar gets around, which is fun.
No, I can imagine that you were sometimes the most popular guy in the bar.
But it also I think there's a big serious part of brand ambassadorship as well. And I always said this to anyone starting. I'm like, just remember, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Yeah. You can go out 7 days a week and drink nonstop and not put your hand in your pocket with regards to your own money at all, right? Yeah. And if you're not very careful about your health, about your mental health and physical health, when you're doing that, then it can become a problem. And I've seen that with a few people within the brand ambassador roles. So you've got to be very careful. And I think the good thing is, compared to when I first started brand ambassadorship back in the early 2000s, compared to now, all brand ambassadors and companies are a lot more cognizant of the fact that, you have to take care of yourself when it comes to this. And you can't just be out drinking like a monster 7 days a week because you'll end up killing yourself. So there's always that aspect of this role that I'm very wary that I say to people like, hey, just remember, don't get too excited too quickly.
Don't burn the candle at both ends for too long anyway. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Let's see. You were doing brand ambassadorship you started at Diageo in 2002? Close to that, yeah? Yeah,
it's 2005 to 2010 as with Diageo.
Okay. And then moved over to Glenfiddich at that point. And went straight to the West Coast, and you lived in LA for a while. And I was in the U.S. Navy, and I was in San Diego for 4 years, back in the early 80s. You and I are similar in age. I think I'm a few years older than you, but
dude, that would have been fun, San Diego in the 80s.
Oh, well, while you're in the military, it's one thing, but you look back on it, and it was actually really, really, really cool. You know what I mean? I got to do a lot of really cool things. But
I just remembered a story. Yeah. I didn't put this in the book actually, and it was the first time I went down to San. It was the first time I went down to San Diego, and that was it. I was meant to meet with the sales guy, but he ended up bumping me. So I was like, I'll just go out in San Diego myself. I'll just go around the bars, talking about exactly what we were just talking about. So I go around all the bars. I'm in the Gaslamp district, going around, using my credit card, buying Glenfiddich for everyone. And then I wake up in my hotel room the next day, and I was like, that was really weird. I had this mad dream that I met, one of the military guys that flew a helicopter, and I was hanging out with him. 2 days later, he emailed me saying, hey, Mitch, that was a great time down in San Diego. I was like, oh, shit, I didn't dream that. Okay, maybe I had a few too. That was excessive brand loyalty right there,
It's part of the job. It's part of the job. Yeah. No, but Southern California and California in general, I live in Texas now, and I do like it here in Texas. California is just an amazing state. Probably one of the only other states I would like to live in. So So you got to be there for 8 years, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny because the company said, live anywhere you want in Southern California. I looked at the map and I saw Newport Beach. And I went, it's got beach in the title. It must be nice there. And then I just picked that for no other reason than it had beach in the title.
Yeah. Yeah, Newport Beach is, well, you picked a nice area.
Yeah, it wasn't too shabby.
You could have picked, at least you didn't pick Compton or Watts or something like that, so.
It was, I think the only thing that got me was my wife, when we were over there, she was doing makeup. So she was a makeup artist. And every weekend she would be doing weddings and dealing with crazy Southern Californian brides.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, if there's any Southern Californians listening, no offense, but there was a lot of drama going on.
I think they know. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was actually on the set of like the Real Housewives of OC and stuff like that. So she'd come back and she'd just be like, "Oh my God!" It was like, and not only that, she had to tell her life story to every single person she was doing the makeup because of the accent.
Yes. Well, yeah. It's. I think us Americans, I know you probably think we have a funny accent. I'm not saying Scottish is funny, but we have an accent. How about that? That's better. But I always enjoy Scottish accents. I enjoy English accents because you guys sound so much better than we do. You sound distinguished.
I think the Scottish accent is so. I mean, it's so all over the place, right? I mean, you can literally drive, as you probably know, Chris. You could drive like 20, 30 minutes in Scotland, and you've got a completely different Scottish accent. From the West Coast, where it's a little bit rougher. I'm from Edinburgh, so it's a little bit, I don't know, easy to understand, let's say. Mm-hmm. But then you go to the likes of the Orkney Islands, it's like where they're almost Scandinavian, Scottish, and it's all over the place. But I think I remember reading at one point it was voted one of the sexiest accents in the world.
Well, I mean, James Bond, come on.
Yeah, Sean Connery.
Yeah, although it was, I guess Daniel Craig really wasn't a Scottish. He's not from Scotland, is he?
No, he's English. We've only had one James Bond. It was only Sean Connery that was Scottish.
Well, but James Bond. And he is the ultimate James Bond, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm swaying towards Daniel Craig now.
No. I love the Daniel Craig movies. I love.
But you know why? Because I look back at the Sean Connery stuff now, and it's so cheesy. I mean, you're like,
no doubt,
you kind of cringe. You're like, come on.
Well, but not as. And now you're listening to the 007 podcast. Sorry, but if what is it? The Roger Moore and the Timothy Dalton and the who's the one right before those guys? Those movies were pretty cheesy.
They've not really aged well, have they?
No, they have not. No, but the Daniel Craig ones, I agree. Probably as far as cinematically, truly the best.
Yeah. And they usually have whiskey in them, so that's pretty cool.
Yes, they do. Yeah, he has his fair share of martinis, but yes, he has some whiskey too, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it was quite interesting because we did one of the podcasts episode that we did was all about whiskey that was featured in movies.
Okay.
And we mentioned James Bond quite a bit in the different movies. Yeah, obviously Macallan with Skyfall. Talisker was one that was mentioned that was in quite a few James Bond movies as well.
Okay.
But obviously everyone associates the Macallan piece. And by the way, that was really quite not coincidental, but basically the family, is it the Broccoli family that started up James Bond?
Yes.
They just happened to meet Ken Greer, who was at the time looking after Macallan, and they said, "Oh yeah, we really like Macallan. Do you want to put it in our movie?" And they didn't pay a single penny for that product placement. Can you believe that? Insane.
Oh, well, no, I'm actually shocked. That's surprising.
I don't think that'll ever happen again. Probably wouldn't happen now. But yeah, we had Ken Greer on the podcast, and he told us that whole story, and I was just like, wow, I can't believe you got that for free. That's a good bit of bartering by there. But he just said I just got on with them really well, and they liked Macallan, so that was it.
Done deal. No, yeah, I'm actually a little jealous because you're in that. I mean, I love Scotch, so that's like my favorite whiskey. I mean, I like bourbon too and whatnot, but Scotch is my jam. But yeah, I'm a pond removed from being accessing some really neat people, and so I'm jealous because you guys
you're
get
only
to
a flight. You're only a flight away, Chris.
This is true. Budgets though. There are things called budgets.
Yeah.
No. Actually, I'm and we'll talk about it later. But I'm coming in March, so
nice.
I'm going to be there for that Independent Spirits Festival.
I shall see you there, sir. I'll be down there with Tourist More, so I'll be able to pour you a dram.
There we go. I'd love that. Yeah. I would truly love that. Now, so let's see here. Let me get back to my notes because it was.
I know we've gone off.
That's okay. That's what
a little bit there. Haven't we?
No, that's how mine works. It's wherever we go. Don't worry about that. That's all right. One of the other things in your book that I truly loved was when you were talking about your 800 person whiskey training in Vegas. That was like your last hurrah in Vegas. You had 800 people you had to train, and how you got them all interested. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's mad. Trainings are always, just tastings and training, it's always interesting when you do it with whiskey. And I think for me, 20 people is a nice number. I literally just did a tasting with 18 people over the weekend, and it's just a nice number. But if you get one pocket that starts to chat amongst themselves, that's really hard, So, yeah, but yeah, the incident you talk about was when I went over to Vegas, and it was the Cosmopolitan Hotel, which I'm sure you've stayed at before. Not a bad spot.
Not a bad spot.
Yeah, went in there, and it was all their new stuff, and it was wild. I've never done anything like that before.
Right.
Broadcast on massive TVs and microphoned up, and yeah, but and for me, whenever I do a tasting, I always say knowledge is very important. Obviously, you have to know what you're talking about. But it also needs to be a bit of drama to it, a bit of theatre to it. You've got to keep people's attention. If you don't, then you might as well be just reading off a script, and people just turn off. So throughout, whenever I've done tastings, there's always little bits that I bring in. I love to bring the audience in as well. When there's 800 people, it's a little bit harder, that's for sure. But yeah, it's. That was a fun one, but I still love doing tastings today. It's one of my favorite things to do is sit everyone down and go through a load of whiskeys.
Yes, no, I've started to dabble in that myself, and it's fun. It's fun, especially if you can, if especially if you're dealing with people who have little to no knowledge, it's fun giving them some of your knowledge. And
absolutely.
So yeah, definitely, and thank you to the Edinburgh Whiskey Academy for teaching me up. So definitely. You also wrote at the very end of the book, and I love this. This is, again, you're being profound, I think. Pour a glass, pull up a chair, ask questions, tell your stories, share what you love. Whiskey isn't about where you've been, it's about where you're going next. I love that.
Again, probably that was probably a full bottle of whiskey before I wrote that bit,
But it's true. I mean, it's whiskey can open up, make connections. And like you said, it's about connecting with people and experiences and everything like that. I think you remember more where you were when you were drinking something versus what the drink it was itself. I mean, that's important, but it's a lot about, again, the what you're doing and who you're doing it with. Yeah.
And the question thing, I put that in there because I always feel like the industry is so open to questions, and whether it's a master distiller, a brand ambassador, blender, whoever it is you're talking to, and this goes the same for American whiskey, always really open to sharing that knowledge. Mm-hmm. And I love that, and long may that continue. And I think if you went around Scotland, probably in the 60s or 70s, it was a very different story. Right. It was closed doors. We didn't have our first distillery open in Scotland until 69. So prior to that, it was very
Wow.
much this kind of secret society, you know, where it was like, oh, we use this magical water that's blessed by these fairies up at this magical pond and all that kind of bullshit, which went on a lot, you know, back in the day. But yeah, you know, it's such an open industry, and I love that about it.
No, so also, I love that I love the call that you got from your boss. I guess it was kind of right before you ended up coming back to Scotland. Was you are a keeper of the Quake?
Yeah, I mean that's you know, probably the highest honour you can get within Scottish whiskey. So that's a huge aspect of I suppose what I do, and I don't talk about it that much actually. I talk about it in the book, but I don't mention it unless someone asks me.
Okay.
But I think
that's
right
a big
now,
deal. I mean, I understand you don't want to like but that's still pretty big deal.
Yeah, and you know, it was amazing because the actual ceremony itself is done in Blair Castle in the Highlands of Scotland, and you get to take someone with you. And obviously, I took my wife Jo, and she came away from it at the end, and she was like, "That is the most Scottish thing I've ever been to in my life." And she was born and bred in Scotland, you know, so.
Yes,
but yeah, it's I think there must be about 2,500-3,000 keepers around the world now. Very cool.
I wouldn't say who's your favorite. I'm not going to ask you who your favorite person is, but who have been some of the most memorable people that you've met in the whiskey industry?
You know, it's the guy that appears on the front cover. Charlie McLean for me has always been a big inspiration. I was lucky enough to meet him very early in my career, and we still hang out today. We still hang out a lot. And you know, Charlie, again, going back to what I've been saying, he's just so open to anyone within the industry. If you're lucky enough to meet him, he will give you so much of his time. And, you know, he's just so generous with his time, such a nice guy as well. So it was a funny story, actually, because I sent this book to Charlie before I wrote it. And what always happens with Charlie is we have this thing. I'll go around to his place in Edinburgh. He lives in Stockbridge. And it's like, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when we'll meet. I'll go up to his flat in Stockbridge. First thing we'll do is we'll get a wee cocktail on the go, believe it or not. And it's usually a Negroni, straight at the fridge. Gordon's straight at the fridge, with the Campari straight at the fridge. No ice, just in the glass. Sit in his whiskey tasting room, have a Negroni, chat some shit, and then it'll be usually go out for lunch, grab a couple of beers, maybe a bottle of wine, go back to his for some whiskeys, and then I've got to take the next day off. You know, I usually leave that. It's not like a late session, but it's just we seem to put so much how do I say it? So much drinking into a concentrated time, you know. But so I sent the book to Charlie. And it was at the editor. It hadn't been completely finished. It hadn't been totally polished up yet. I was like, "Oh, Charlie, I'd love to get your opinion on this." So I sent him it, and he wrote back, "Yes, my boy, I will give it a good read, and I'll let you know." Fast forward 3 weeks, and I hadn't heard from Charlie. I'm like, "Shit, did he just not like this book, and he doesn't want to say anything to me?" You know. So I emailed him back. I'm like, "Hey, Charlie, how'd you get on with the book?" "My boy, I'm just about to finish it. I'll let you know." And 2 days later, he writes back, and what he wrote, which is on the front cover, he was like, "You can put this on the front cover." So he actually said, "This really is the best and most amusing account of working in the whiskey trade in recent decades I've ever read." I was like, "Wow, that's amazing." And he goes, "You can put that in the front cover, Mitch." And I was like, "Charlie, I will. Thank you very much."
I will.
So I did.
Well, I would agree. It's a great account for it's like you said, it's behind the scenes, but from a certain perspective, which is one that most people don't. I would say just don't think about a lot. I mean, they know brand ambassadors, but I don't know if they've heard too many points of view from that point of view or point. Yeah. That's not great English. I apologize for that. But. So yes, I would 100% agree with Charles McLean. He and I agree. So yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Chris.
Yeah, yeah. So, is there anybody else that you would think? I mean, because I know you've met celebrities, you've met all kinds of people. Are there anybody else that you would say most memorable? I'm not saying favorite, because your most memorable could also be somebody you didn't get on with, So,
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've met so many of these, like I mentioned earlier, blenders, distillers,
yeah,
and there's not really one that sticks.
Okay.
There's a few of them that stick in my mind, but as a general rule, those people that are doing that, just unbelievable.
Yes.
The amount of knowledge they have, the David Stewarts, the Brian Kinsmans of the world, the Rachel Barrys,
yeah,
all these kind of people that are out there. And I think the amazing thing is now when you look at these blenders and distillers, they got into it to make whiskey.
Yes.
But now they have to do so much more. They have to do this brand ambassadorship as well that they've never signed up for. And some of them love it and some of them hate it. And you can tell the ones that hate it because they're doing an interview and it's just like, you don't want to be here. And we sometimes get it on the podcast,
Yeah.
We've got master distillers, master blenders on all the time.
Yeah.
And some of them are very natural on talking into camera. And others, we kind of have to really, what's that saying, blood out of a stone,
Yes. Yeah.
But the one thing about them is they all are passionate about what they do and they want to get people into it and they want to share their knowledge in a way that brings new drinkers in. And that's what we need right now. We need to be really championing whiskey and talking about it in a way that isn't stuffy, that isn't, back in the day when I first started whiskey, it was like, oh, you can only drink your whiskey neat. You can never add anything to it,
Yeah.
So, one of my running jokes, Chris, and you might have to edit this out your podcast, but back in the day,
I get pretty irreverent. It's all good. No worries.
Back in the day, we said, a Scotsman only liked two things naked, and one of them was their whiskey. The other one was their sheep. Got to put a sheep joke in there somewhere. But no, I think, to my point though, that's what I love about whiskey now is there's so many different ways that you can drink it, and I still haven't seen anyone go, you have to drink it neat. Yeah, I used to hear horror stories about bartenders refusing to give people water to put in their whiskey, and I was like, come on, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
when you even hear Jim McEwen say, "Yeah, drink it how you like it," or even Charles McLean, I think, says, "Drink it how you like it." So
yeah,
it is what it is. That's I usually drink mine neat, but whatever. Occasionally I'll put it
Texas. Texas, middle of summer, you're going to maybe chuck a couple ice cubes in there, and maybe turn it into a wee highball, tall glass,
exactly
water.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I 100% agree. No doubt about it. Give it a little more refreshing versus than room temperature. Thank God for air conditioning, though. So otherwise, it would be a whole totally different situation here in Texas. So, okay. Copper Cairn whiskey experiences. Give me a rundown if you don't mind.
Yeah, so this was I went solo in the whiskey industry right in the middle of lockdown 2020. And, I thought, well, what do I want to do? I still loved being an ambassador, but I didn't love the travel as much. And I remember coming back from a trip, and it was to Singapore. And I'd been over to Singapore, flown business class, stayed, amazing hotels, did these incredible events. We were out in catamarans and all this kind of stuff, and it was fantastic. And I came back, and a friend asked me, said, "How was your trip to Singapore?" And I just went, "Yeah, it was all right." And in my head, I was like, "Why was I so flippant with that reply?"
Yeah.
And I worked out that it wasn't because I'd fallen out of love with whiskey. I'd just fallen out of love with the travel 24/7.
Yeah.
I was about 70% of your time as an ambassador, you're on the road. So it's a tough gig. So I thought to myself, well, what can I do to still stay within that ambassador role? And Copper Cairn was a way for me to do that. So what we do is we create bespoke whiskey experiences all around Scotland, a lot of the time in Speyside because I'm based right in the heart of Speyside. But we'll go over to Islay, we'll do Campbelltown, we'll go up to Skye, we'll even go as far afield as Orkney. And we just create 1 day right away to 6-7 day multi-day trips for people.
Very nice.
And again, it's we never bill ourselves as a company that just drop you off at a distillery and go, right, you're booked in for this tour, we'll see you in 2 hours, and then take you to another distillery and do the same thing. There's no point in that. So we always create these bespoke experiences that are a little bit above and beyond. And what I love doing is the vehicle's always filled with whiskey. Nice. Everyone always gets a glass as soon as they jump in, and we'll stop at amazing spots and just pour out whiskey and pour out drams and tell stories and do that. And you know, I love the fact that people will come on tour with us and we'll arrange amazing experiences at a distillery, for example. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, I'll say to them, so what was your favorite thing? And I think they're going to say that incredible whiskey dinner we had at that distillery. But they'll turn around a lot of the time and they'll go, you know what it was? It was us just hanging out by the spay, drinking whiskey and having a good time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what Copper Cairn is. We do tastings and we do experiences, all kind of whiskey related. Cool. But I also wanted it to be an aspect of, I didn't want it to be whiskey. So we can incorporate different things in there as well. If someone wants to go paddleboarding, which I absolutely love, then happily take them paddleboarding or canoeing down the Spey, hiking a mountain. We'll do all that stuff. Yeah,
that's very cool. No, that's amazing. I've only been to Speyside once. Got to visit my favorite distillery, which is Glenfarclas, and but doing this now, I plan on being there quite a bit more. So yeah, but looking forward to it. And so I'll have to hit you up and do an experience with you.
Give me a shot, mate.
Yeah,
give me a shot. Yeah.
You also are on, again, as we've mentioned a little bit here, you have your own podcast called Not Another Whiskey Podcast. Tell us about that a little bit too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, again, that was another lockdown project. I started that with my good friend Daryl Haldane. So Daz and I, we both started off as whiskey ambassadors in Diageo. So it's, when we started off, again, similar title to the book, right? The podcast did actually come first. But we looked at this and we were like, well, we don't want to be like every other podcast out there. And I think a lot of whiskey podcasts, they can get into this rut of just doing tasting notes and talking about the same whiskey for, 40 minutes. And we've never done that on the show. We've maybe talked about whiskey for about, tasting notes anyway, for about 4 or 5 seconds.
Yes.
But a lot of the time we're getting guests on, we're getting master blenders on, distillers, people that are interesting within the whiskey world as well. And we're just chatting crap, basically, Chris. Taking the mickey out of ourselves. We don't take ourselves seriously, and we never have done. And we're on season 6 now. Wow. So
fantastic.
On Thursday, as we record this, it's actually, tomorrow, we're going to record our 200th episode.
Oh, good for you. That's fantastic. This coming week will be 13 for me. So
13.
I'm at the beginning of my. Say again. I'm sorry.
You got some catching up to do, mate.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. Yes, I do. Yeah. But so this was, again, a passion project of mine because I still have a day job and I have to pay the bill somehow, but I'm enjoying it because I'm getting to meet some, as you said, the people you get to meet are just amazing. One of the only other, I guess, Scotch whiskey people, because, again, obviously I have a lot more access to American whiskey people, but I don't think you've ever spoken with her, but Julianne Fernandez with CVH. I was able to interview her while she was over here doing some brand ambassadorship. So that was nice. So that's one of my only other Scotch whiskey interviews that I've done.
No, she's great, and what I love now, I need to look at this statistic and dig into it and do the math. Someone told me the other day, we've got more women making whiskey in Scotland now than men.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
so Julianne
fantastic.
obviously being one of them. You got the likes of Emma Walker up at Johnny Walker now, Rachel Barry that we mentioned already, Kelsey McKechnie at Balvenie, Sarah Burchess over at Speyburn, Anock. So yeah.
What, the Nickneen gals also, right?
Yeah, Annabelle, absolutely.
Yep. No.
Yeah, so it's and I love that, and it's something that I'm a big advocate of. I've been a mentor within our Whiskey Foundation since it started. And again, it's all about inclusivity, right? When I started, it was this old man's drink, and it was old men that were drinking it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bloody golf clubs that I was going around the whole time I was doing. It was like a wrinkly sausage fest for my audience when I first started. And I love the fact now that it's so much more inclusive. We're seeing not only women, but younger people drinking whiskey as well, which is great to see. So,
agreed.
Long may that continue.
Yeah. Yes. No, I agree 100%. It is fun and interesting to see the ladies. I think it's a great thing. Enjoying it, you know what I mean? It's and being in the industry itself, because a lot of times I'd probably rather look at them than a bunch of guys anyway. So,
well, you know, an interesting
not trying to be sexist, not trying to be sexist, but I'm just being a red-blooded male.
But you know, an interesting fact as well, Chris, is that women can actually smell more than guys, right? So it makes sense. And
totally makes sense.
They should be making more whiskey than us.
Yes. Yeah. Which it seems to be, again, speaking of Julianne, she seems to be doing quite well over there at Bunnahabhain. So definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll cut this out. I'm gathering my thoughts here because I wanted to ask you something else. Oh, okay. So we have recently, we both actually, speaking of podcasts, we both actually need to catch up, because I know you a few weeks ago spoke with Mark Gillespie of the Whiskey Cast. I interviewed him actually back in late November, early December, and we both have a lot of catch up to do. And so my program is, I'm emulating. I'm not trying to copy Mark, but it's because I also talk about cigars, pipes, and pipe tobacco too. So I'll never run out of content. But I think he's fascinating in that, again, he started podcasting about the time you joined into the whiskey industry. You were a little earlier, but I mean, he's been podcasting for 20 years.
It's crazy, right? I mean, he is he's the grandfather of the OG, if you like, of podcasting. Saying, I think it's over 1,000 episodes.
I think he's getting close to almost 1,200 episodes now. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely insane.
And he has
one of the things I said to Mark when I first met him, well, I actually emailed him back in my Diageo days, because when I was running about Scotland, I used to listen to this podcast all the time, downloading it on an iPod.
Right.
But yeah.
Exactly.
Showing that age there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It is. Yeah. It's funny how most people don't realize how long ago the iPod actually was, and how much longer it was before the iPhone even came out. So, how the world has changed since the iPhone came out, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, so I would say that I'm doing what I did with his. I still haven't caught up fully on his, because there's 1,200 episodes, but I'm listening to your guys' podcast now, and I'm going backwards and listening, because one thing I found, you were in it, you lived it. I've learned so much about the history and just the people and everything, listening to Mark and to you guys. Just, again, it's wonderful. So thank you for that.
Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, so how can people find you? Interwebs, everything. Give you a rundown if you don't mind, please.
All right, where do we start here?
Hawk that book.
Let's start from the top here.
Yeah.
So Whiskey Mitch is my Instagram handle. Tourist More, so spelled TURASMOR, is my whiskey. And again, we're on Instagram. Website is just touristmorewhiskey.com. Then we've got the podcast, which is Not Another Whiskey Podcast. Website is notanotherwhiskeypodcast.com. Again, we're all over Instagram as well. Copper Cairn is just coppercairn.com. You can see all the tours, all the experiences that we do there. And then the book is available on Amazon. Nice and easy for everyone around the world. And just not another... Can I swear on your show?
Yeah, go ahead. It's all good.
Yeah, not another fucking whiskey book.
That's right.
So yeah.
Yes.
But then when you put it in obviously in Amazon, you can't write that. So you just put an asterisk for the U and then it'll come up.
Exactly. Yeah, no. I've never, irreverent is fine on this podcast. It's all good. So, I mean, I don't swear up a storm, but I am a sailor. So I know how to do it.
Yeah, and one of the things, the reason I put a swear word in the book was I did some research into the title of the book, and someone said if you put a swear word in the title of your book, it sells better.
I bet it does. I could imagine people are like, "Oh, what's that?"
Ooh, it's a bit risky, isn't it? Look at it.
Exactly. Well, Mitch, hey, thank you so much for taking some time and sitting down with me. I know it's afternoon for you, but it's like 7 a.m. When we started, it was like 7 a.m. for me here, but that's all good. I truly appreciate your time. I hope, as we talked about, I get to see you in March when I'm over there, and hopefully we can, talk more in the future. And just if you don't mind, I'll hit you up every now and then, just see how everything's going.
No, absolutely, Chris. And thank you so much for being on your show. It's been a pleasure catching up with you and meeting you, and looking forward to doing it in the flesh in March at the Whiskey Show, mate.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you again, sir. Have a great day, okay?
All right, Mark. All right, Chris. All right. Take care.
All right.
I want to thank the one and only Mitch Bichard for taking time and remotely sitting with me for a nice in-depth interview on a wide range of topics. He is such a gentleman, and I thank him very, very much for his time. Now, as always, I want to thank you for joining me on this amazing journey to learn all that I can about these three amazing industries. I hope that you were able to learn something new from this episode, but more importantly, I hope that you were entertained and will continue to listen and or watch the program moving forward. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, like the video, leave comments, and spread the word to your friends and family. I will always, always, always love having new followers. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. If you wouldn't mind, please leave a review, as that helps their algorithm help other people find the channel. Also, please let me know of any ideas that you would like to hear about in upcoming episodes, and I will see what I can conjure up. I will see you next week on the Whiskey and Smoke News Network, and remember, please drink and smoke responsibly. Have a great day.